Yeah. We ready?
Go ahead.
All right. I call to the committee of the whole board
Mike,
meeting.
please.
Pardon?
Mike, please.
Okay. Take two.
Thank you.
I call to order the committee of the whole board meeting at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, March the 6th, 2025, in the boardroom of Park River Forest High School, and ask for a roll call, please.
Mr. Brisbane,
Yes.
Dr. Maharaj.
Here.
Mr. Arkin,
Here.
Ms. Williams-Lee, Dr. Livingston, Mr. Brandholz.
Here.
Mr. Kosky.
Here. I move to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, or legal counsel of the district, and interconnect contractors and specific volunteers, including hearing testimony and complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel of the district to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this act. Collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular public body is filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be reported and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Dr. Maharaj,
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Brisbane,
Here.
Mr. Brandholz.
Yes.
And Mr. Kosky.
Yes.
Said yes when I should have said here. Someone else will say here when I could have said yes.
Does here mean yes in some language?
Is that first?
We have
Okay.
Okay. We are resuming open session. And our first order of business is the seating of a student board delegate. And taking the oath, so do we have this Ruby Durgan?
Right.
Well,
Have a seat.
so
Nice.
you can sit down if you'd like. What? You can, yeah, but you had company. Okay, let me just introduce it, the topic, which is that in recent years, the D200 School Board of Education has considered amplifying student voice by allowing students to sit at the board table and contribute to deliberations. After researching what other districts do, as well as what is allowed by Illinois school code, we have developed a pilot program and we're excited to continue it tonight. For this pilot, we have student delegates from grades 9 through 12. Delegates are expected to attend all board meetings as observers. One junior or senior delegate will sit at the table each meeting and participate in the dialogue. For continuity, juniors are expected to serve as delegates for 2 years. There are some limitations. Students will not be allowed to vote or participate in closed session. In addition, student delegates do not count towards a quorum or open meeting act limits. Each student is assigned a board mentor to answer questions and coach them in contributing to the dialogue. Our hope is that the benefits will be two-way. Students will gain experience in local governance, while the board will gain a broader perspective from our students. And it's already happening, so. This is a pilot, and we will continue to assess and reshape as needed for maximum impact. So last 2 weeks ago, was it?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, we had the pleasure of seating 6 of our delegates, and today we have our 7th delegate who had where were you?
I went to Peoria for speech team.
Oh, speech team.
Yeah.
All right. So this will be easy stuff for you then. So I am going to ask that you take the oath as a board delegate. You have it in front of you. So I will read, we will go paragraphs at a time. Okay, so just in terms of cadence. So I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of student delegate to the Board of Education of Oak Park and River Forest High School District 200 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability.
Wait.
Yep.
Okay. I, Ruby Durgan, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of student delegate to the Board of Education of Oak Park and River Forest High School, District 200, in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability.
I further swear that I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion from my fellow student delegates, board members, and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
I further swear that I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow student delegates, board members, and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
I shall recognize that board members and student delegates have no legal authority as individuals, and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote of board members at a public board meeting.
I shall recognize that board members and student delegates have no legal authority as individuals, and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote of board members at a public board meeting.
I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
As student delegate to the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district.
As student delegate to the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district.
I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the student body and the school community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for the Oak Park and River Forest High School.
I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the student body and school community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Oak Park and River Forest High School.
I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework.
I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework.
I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law.
I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law.
I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students in our community school to advance the vision for District 200.
I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students in our community school to advance the vision for District 200.
And lastly, I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district towards fulfilling the vision of the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
And I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district towards fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
Congratulations. You are a really good. You have a certificate acknowledging all the commitments made. And now we will go about our work. So our next agenda topic, on that, just because of the commitment there, the oath. I have a list of the relationship of who the board and delegate mentors will be. And so each of the delegates will be communicated to within the next day of who their assigned mentor is for the remaining part of this year. So just you can, and as well as what they will be doing to help you out, just get started. Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. So public comment.
None.
Okay, is there anyone present who has not signed up for public comment, who has never signed up for public comment and would like to make public comment? No.
Mike, Lynn?
Okay, then we shall move to our next order of business, which is approval of the February 6th minutes. So I move to approve the February 6th, 2025 committee of the whole minutes as presented. Are there any corrections, adjustments that need to be made? Okay. Okay. Second, made by Tim. And we may do a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. And so, as a committee of the whole, we will now move through our different committee sections. Our first on the agenda this evening is instruction committee, or instruction. And Dr. Johnson, will you take the lead in queuing it up?
Happy to. So while my team is transitioning up here, this is our annual staffing list of staffing recommendations for the next school year to the Board of Education. This is really a process that begins in October when we first bring to the Board of Education consideration of any changes to our academic catalogs. From there, a long process ensues that really is involves the selection of courses from our students, and from there we figure out our staffing needs. And that was in front of you today. So this is slated to come to the board 2 weeks from today for approval. So this is just for discussion at this point. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sanders.
Dr. Johnson. So we bring setting recommendations for the following school year in the boards during the committee of the whole meeting in March, and then ask for approval if there is any additional FTE. So all the positions in the district in this memo that you received are grouped according to the role that they play in providing services to our students. So the first category, we have instructional classroom positions. And currently, our FTE, which for teaching positions means full-time 1.0 FTE is teaching 5 classes. So the instructional FTE for the current school year is 228.8. Each year, FTE fluctuates slightly depending on course requests and sectioning that is done. So due to sectioning this year, we have an overall reduction of 2.4, but then we are also asking for an additional special education science teacher position. So the net effect would be a reduction of 1.4. The second category is instructional support. These are also faculty positions, but they're not in the classroom. In this category, we have a reduction of 2.8 due to the elimination of instructional coaching program. It will be offset by an introduction, another special education program chair position specifically for team. And now I'll pass it on to Dr. Fiorenza and Ms. Newman to talk about the specifics of these recommendations when I talk about the instructional coaching program a little bit more.
So over the past 6 years, we have restructured the instructional coaching program at least 2 times to try to achieve some very specific building-wide results. And we worked with an outside consultant for the last 6 years. She has provided guidance, support. She provided one-on-one coaching to the instructional coaches. And despite the very dedicated and best efforts of those 3 coaches, we do not see, the data does not show us that we are obtaining the things that we wanted to see. Some of the things we specifically wanted to see were strategic SMART goals, the collection of specific student outcome-based data, and then obviously specific shifts in the student data. Our coaches did an excellent job, collaborated with lots of teachers, provided PD on staff development days, during lunch and learns, but those key things have just eluded us. And as a result of that evaluation this past year of the last 3 years, we determined that at this point, we are not obtaining what we had hoped. And so we determined it was best to not proceed with that program again.
And then if you could talk a little bit about the special education instructional coaching and also, the class for the new program chair position.
So as you all are aware, we are moving our study program to a new location. Due to just the ever growing needs that we have in our transition program. I think the needs are growing twofold. First, students are staying longer and we are just seeing an increase of students needing these services. So the need then changes, we need an additional teacher to cover actual instruction and classroom needs. Then the program chair, we will be splitting what is currently the site program and team program chair, which is one position, into two separate program chairs. And just for informational purposes, our program chairs serve two purposes. They function as LEAs, which essentially run IEP meetings and they're designated for the district to distribute our resources within IEP meetings. Essentially, they chair IEP meetings. And then they also provide direct support to programs. So this particular program chair will be providing support to our team program. And then the site program chair will focus solely on the site program. And so because they provide support to both, they provide specific support to teachers within each program. Eliminating the instructional coaching position and reallocating it to this new program chair will continue to provide support. It was just difficult for our instructional coach to provide support for all of special education teachers because it's a wide range of needs that we have. So it was twofold.
Thank you. So next category that, we would like to discuss is administration and management. And we divided specifically into administration and management because of the two categories of employees that are in it. Administrators is anyone who works on their professional education license and holds administrative endorsement. And we also have director positions that are non-licensed, but they supervise departments. So in that category, there will be a elimination of one director position, that is position of director of instructional technology. And that elimination is due to the proposal to split the current division of fine and applied arts into two, fine and performing arts and CT, career technical education. And I will let Dr. Fiorenzo talk a little bit more about the need for doing this.
So our current position, which is Division Head for Fine and Applied Arts, oversees 5 different departments that are distinctly different. So music, speech, theater, business, family and consumer science, and visual arts, all which have very different needs. And that division head also is responsible for our CTE program, so our career and technical education program, helping us to garner pathways, helping us to garner partnerships, apprenticeships, internships for students, and working with the Des Plaines Valley region. Sorry, I had to get that DVR, which is a huge ask for one individual. Just when you think about the after-school opportunities in the music, in the theater, and then our visual arts teachers put on a lot of things. Empty Bowls was just a recent event. Lots of artwork, gallery, portfolios. It became just too challenging to find one human being who could do all of that and had expertise in all of those areas. I began to look at our comparable districts. And as you can see in the chart that was included, all of the comparable districts have this separated. As well as I looked at all of the schools that participate in the DVR alongside of us, and they all have a separate CTE division as well. And so the request is to maintain the division head we have, but restructure that to the fine and performing arts so that you would have speech, theater, visual arts, music together, which are all performing arts. They can collaborate, they can look at student goals and objectives, skill sets, performances, mastery of certain skills, all in the same vein. The professional development they engage in, the way they do formative assessments, the way they utilize portfolios is very much the same. And then creating that CTE division will allow us to garner a person who can really focus on developing our pathways, expanding our pathways beyond the few that we have now, and more importantly, really help us to build those partnerships with our local businesses so that students can engage in internships and apprenticeships, getting those CCPEs, but also industry credentials. We have several classes that if we had a division head that was responsible for CTE, could assist our teachers in making sure that something like our auto actually ends up giving kids these credentials that could employ them immediately after high school. So that is the reason that there's a request to split that position. That the reshuffling and reorganization removed teaching positions from the Director of Instructional Technology and Innovation position, which is why that position then was collapsed, because the teaching positions were reallocated into other divisions.
Yeah, and final category is non-instructional support that consists of several employee groups, buildings and grounds, campus safety and support, classified personnel, full service, and also non-affiliates, non-affiliated professionals. So the levels, the staffing levels for the upcoming school year will remain unchanged with the exception of non-affiliated professionals. We talked previously about reducing the position of Director of Instructional Technology. However, we still need to have instructional technology program, so we will be creating an instructional technology program coordinator position, which will be part of non-affiliates. So there will be an increase of 1.0 in that category. As you could see from the summary chart in the memo, we still have an overall reduction in the district FTE of 2.4. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we bring recommendations to the board and ask for approval if there is an increase in FTE. We don't have an increase in FTE for the next school year. However, we do ask to approve 2 new positions because we just don't have these positions right now. But I want to stress that it is not adding additional FTE, it's reallocating FTE, and there will be no additional cost to the district. So just to remind you, the first one is we ask them to split the current division head division for fine and applied arts into 2, will be division head for fine and performing arts and division head for technical education. 2 positions, each at 0.8 because all of our division heads also teach one class, so that they 0.2 FTE is teaching. And then also a reallocation of 1.0 FTE in the faculty instructional support category to create special education team programs here. So these recommendations will come to the board during the regular board meeting on March 9th. And we will take any questions.
Questions? Iris.
I have a couple questions from my other fellow peer leaders about the elimination of the instructional coaching program. So what are the expected effects of taking this away?
So we will look at 2 things very closely: how we support new teachers and how we provide professional development to our teachers. And so 3 ways that we currently do that we will expand on and look more closely at is all of our teachers are able to provide professional development and share their expertise during staff development and institute days. We'll continue to provide that opportunity to our teachers to share their expertise with their colleagues. As far as the new teachers, Miss Elaine Watson and Mr. Bill Young are our new teacher mentor leaders. And so we will have to work with them to determine what and how we can support our new teachers in an ongoing way in addition to what they're already doing. And then finally, each of our division heads are first and foremost the instructional leaders of that division. And so we're going to work with those division heads to think about creative ways that they could continue to and enhance how they provide that instructional leadership to their teachers.
And then do we have data to support this? Was the program effective and was there an effect you could see in student performance?
So we looked at 3 years worth of data. And yes, the data indicated that we didn't actually collect data on specific student outcomes, which does not mean that those instructional coaches were not effective at what they were doing. They were great collaborators. They brought a lot of professional development to their colleagues. They supported curriculum development, but data that showed a change in student outcome, we did not have. And as a result, separated.
So we're not expecting to see change in student performance. Well, I mean, obviously little fluctuations, but not a massive change.
I would not expect to see an impact, a negative impact, no, on student outcomes.
Okay. I just already know that as the one who I assigned to be mentor, I think the role has to be the other way around.
I have a sticky note.
Marianne, question?
Yes, so I want to talk about the fine and applied arts restructuring. So partly I just wanted to say I'm really glad to see this. I think I was the one who was sort of disturbed when I realized that fine and applied arts were under the direction of like business as the division head, which did not make a lot of sense to me. I can sort of see how like there's like a hands-on component, right, to both, you know, auto work, the cooking track, etc., and painting. So you can sort of see why those might have been together at one point, but in terms of professionalization, the paths are so different afterwards. I think dividing them really makes a lot of sense. I just think you need someone in the fine and performing arts supervising it who understands those career paths and the work that students are doing. I would make 2 notes. One is the rule of creative writing, which is not in here. And creative writing has been, sometimes it ends up getting housed in theater for playwriting, for screenwriting. Sometimes it gets housed in English as you go past high school, right? But the professionalization work for people who go on as creative writers is very similar to the work, you know, many of them all end up in MFA programs or creative or arts PhD programs. And so I would just say, as you're thinking forward, is there a space for student writing to fit into this fine and applied arts rubric, and kind of thinking about, and what does professionalization look like for those students? Like my MFA program had a professionalization retreat specifically for creative writing, right? We were thinking about agents and stuff. So anyway, so I just wanted to note that because I suspect right now it's mostly kind of subsumed into the English department.
It is in the English department, and our theater teacher teaches 2 of the sections.
Yeah, and so it's just, and I'm not saying it needs to be broken out necessarily, but like some awareness of some of those student writers maybe should also be going and doing some of the fine arts professionalization work, if that makes sense. So like a partnership awareness perhaps.
Thank you.
And then my only other thing is in the, it's in the job description for the division head fine and performing arts. I appreciate this attend at least 70% of student productions and events. I think that really highlights the importance of the demands on their time and the importance of it for someone supervising that. I'm a little curious about the work environment and physical demands, because it says that work activities are conducted in a climate-controlled open office environment, no hazardous or significantly unpleasant conditions. And my experience with fine arts is that we are often working with fumes, we have ventilators, we're wearing ventilators, there's hoods, et cetera, that are, so it seems a little odd to have in here something that, because presumably they have to go into the classroom periodically where I'm not sure what high school has in terms of that kind of thing, but I would,
Working and stuff.
yeah, I would assume that there are some hazardous environmental elements for anyone doing woodshop work or resin work or, you know, some paint work, et cetera. So I just wanted that just flagged for this. That's it. Thank you.
Yes.
Questions? Tim?
Like Mary Ann, I've never really thought that the way that fine arts is currently constituted makes a whole lot of sense, so I completely support the configuration. That's very much. So, a couple of clarifying questions about the instructional coaches, sort of building on what Iris was asking about. So it sounds like what you're saying is that the instructional coaches are not primarily or have not been primarily devoted to supporting newer teachers. Where I'm coming from with my question is we are really focused on retention and making sure that we retain as many of our teachers as we can. So has there been a connection between how we deploy instructional coaches and retention and trying to support the teachers that need it most, or are they kind of
Yeah, that's a good question.
divided and just widely dispersed in what they're doing?
So typically, instructional coaching is best done confidentially, right? If I want to coach, I seek out a coach. When you assign a person or require a person to go to coaching, it becomes less effective. This is like a research-based, so we subscribe to Jim Knight. He is like one of the gurus of instructional coaching. We had he and his team in. We read his books. I actually was trained under him. And so it all is about inviting teachers to engage with you, but not requiring it. So our teachers are not required to engage in coaching, nor do I know who has engaged in coaching. So there's no names attached. The coaches do all of their work confidentially. So I can't go and I have no way of knowing who actually received coaching.
Okay. The teachers that we most want to retain and our newest teachers who I would think are generally, most in need of support. How do we mentor those teachers?
Through our two new teacher mentor leaders. We engage in 4 days at the beginning of the school year where we work with them. And then every month, Ms. Watson and Mr. Young have a session for those teachers. They have lunch and learns with those teachers, so they invite different people in to talk to them. And each one of those teachers has a mentor teacher assigned to them that they engage with, talk to, do activities, can seek out when they have questions, can come in and watch their class, those types of things. So really a very good peer mentor opportunity, but instructional coaching was totally voluntary.
Okay, thank you. That really clarifies that for me. That question about the director of instructional technology position. So it sounds like as it's currently configured, that is a position. And we had a really good presentation from the current director a couple of months ago. Really interesting. And I thought an excellent presentation. But it sounds like the current position is doing the sort of instructional technology leadership that we heard about in December. But there's also a supervisory role, and that's the person we're going to change.
Correct. So currently, underneath Mr. Battaglia is the 2 librarians who are certified teachers, information literacy. So Mr. Battaglia oversees and evaluates those 2, as well as our media specialist. So our media specialist works in the audio room, podcasting, helping students lay out music. And so in the restructuring, the media specialist moved to fine and performing arts. We have radio sound there, so that just makes sense, it fits, kids can continue to work both with music and with the theater, production, all of those things. And then the librarians, we moved to the history division because a significant amount of their looking for chords over there.
I'm listening, hoping for it out,
So you
so.
dropped it
Okay.
to candy.
We have an educational technology specialist in the room. That might help.
Yeah.
That was my job. I did.
Yeah, like where are we getting started? Yeah.
The history division does a lot of research, and that is the primary support that our information literacy specialists, librarians do, is they walk kids through that research process, start to finish. And so because they do most of their work with the history division, it makes sense for them to be a part of the history division so that they can collaborate, engage in professional development, all of those things. So what remains is for the director of instructional technology to oversee the makerspace and the instructional technology professional development that goes on relative to AI, platforms, those sorts of things. And so when that's two people, there's two people, one in the makerspace and one that's our instructional technology specialist who supports the teachers, helps with AI, does a phenomenal job. They are both everywhere all the time. But we see that position now doesn't need to be a director and can be a coordinator of programs like the makerspace.
So when it comes to the AI platform that we heard about in December, that's gonna continue on,
Correct.
implementation of that,
Absolutely.
adoption of that will continue on, but just in a new, we're gonna call it the job something different.
We're gonna call the job something different, and that person is going to do everything technology related and then not oversee and evaluate certified teachers.
Thank you.
Yes.
Fred?
First of all, I want to thank you for this report, and I want to thank you for coming to us with a decrease in FTE. And the way I kind of look at this overall, it's really kind of a fine tuning. All right, it's really, I think it's a really deep dive in these areas to fine tune what's in the best interest of our students. I do have a question, and I really wouldn't question any of the recommendations you're making, but one of the questions I do have comes up to has to do with the final estimated costs that are here. Are those just average FTE costs? Because I'm assuming what's gonna really happen is, for example, in faculty, where we're losing, or we have the instructional coaches. We're decreasing by 2.8. That, and I know what you're adding at team, the team program chair, but those, if you just think about those individuals, if they're the instructional coaches, they're probably more seniority teachers with longer tenures, and they would not be quote let go or wouldn't be part of a reduction in force. So their salaries would be higher than actually the person who may be let go. Who may. So my question is, do these estimated costs reflect what will really happen, or is it just an average of our FTE?
So unfortunately, we cannot predict what will really happen because these are replacement costs, and for replacement costs, we always estimate $75,000 on average for a certified position, one for the other. And so that's what the numbers here reflect.
Graham?
Two quick questions here. So how many division heads do we have?
Currently there's 7.
Okay, and now there's gonna be 8. Correct, I'm gonna split. And a division head counts as a 0.8 FTE of an administrator and a 0.2 FTE of a faculty. Would that be correct? That's how you calculate it.
Instructionally, so they're not part of the faculty employee to provide the instruction.
And, you know, on the site program, I'm sort of curious, over the 4 years, you have a 57% increase in the utilization of that program. You said part of it is that some students are just staying longer in it. What would be any other reasons that are causing that increase?
So the law changed, I've spoken about this a few times, I brought this here, I think. The law changed a couple of years ago where students used to exit the day before their 22nd birthday. Now, if they turn 22 within, after the school year starts, they can stay for the entire year. So now we have a whole class of students, adults really, that would be exiting at the same time and staying potentially for an additional full year. So there's that piece of it. Also, we are seeing an increase of students just needing additional support past high school. So if the student has an IEP and they reach the time around graduation, we start talking about transition. And we are required by law to do so. Based on students' needs, so this could be mental health needs, this could be behavioral needs, there could be a variety of reasons why students would need supports past 18. Because they're entitled potentially for services through 22. We're just seeing an increase of students who need additional support past that mark of 18.
But we don't know why necessarily. It's hard to peg.
I wouldn't wanna say for sure, I mean, I have some of my own personal ideas, I mean, you can think of like the pandemic and all the things that have happened over the past couple of years and maybe missed instruction. I also think there's an increase in maybe mental health needs and things like that,
Thanks.
but that's my own personal guess.
Wait,
Sorry.
please,
Oh, okay.
let's, I'm gonna, so,
Well, I just wanted to clarify what she said. Is that all right? Sorry, just the increase in mental health needs or increase in diagnosis. They only, like, like, when you'll see something that says autism diagnoses, autism, like there's more autism, but sometimes it just means that later diagnosis. Right, it's not that there's actually more. Sorry.
Yes, so thank you. This is good and it's like to see this. Yeah. I'm especially curious and excited about the designation of the division head of education. It's a lot of work still. And I'm curious about when listing the essential functions. How much in-house actually, how much evaluation expectations of existing programming will this new position? Is that didn't see anything about evaluation in the description? And definitely need to continue to real time to interface with our students about what's missing from this curriculum. And obviously, it's the community and increasing our issue of history parts, community, and identifying where there are opportunities for employment. It's great, but what does that look like for this position?
So one of the things is a person that has a career in technical education background knows and understands a few of those components that we need to be looking at the community and what actually is in the job market near us for our students. We subscribe to and utilize School Links, and School Links is a career platform. Students do surveys beginning their freshman year. This program can do a number of things, but one of the most important things is it drills down for students their career cluster. what are they good at, what are they passionate about, and then that leads to career interests and clusters. And what we need someone to do is look at that data and determine what are the kids saying that they're interested in, are those the programs that we offer, and if they're not, then we need to start going down the line of offering those things. One of the very first ones I know we have looked at is technology. There's a lot of interest in the area of technology, and we don't offer cybersecurity, we don't offer some of those really important technological aspects that I know students are interested in, so we would look at that. As far as the pathways that we currently have, would we evaluate those? I'm sure we would. One of the markers though is student interest, right? Like our nursing program is at capacity all the time and a waiting list. So would we need somebody to evaluate that? Probably not. The IDPH comes in, they do a significant evaluation, and we've done, our nurses do stellar work. We have an education pathway that's just trying to take off, and we have a business pathway that's just trying to take off. I would love for somebody to come and work with those teachers, innovate, create. Another reason we need division head of CTE is just how you recruit students in this program is very different from fine and performing arts. Fine and performing arts, they need to partner with the middle schools and the elementaries so that kids are getting involved in those things early. CTE, it's very different. It's what are kids interested in, what are they passionate about, what courses are aligned, we need to look at our course catalog. There's a lot of things that this position will entail. And so by no means did I detail every one of those things out in the job description, but my expectation is that somebody who is versed in CTE and has the expertise we need knows that those are the things that have to be done in order for you to have a good career and technical education program.
And I can definitely vouch for the success of our education pathway. As a student who's in our current, who's the pathway to education course, where I'm receiving 6 free college credits at Concordia. Out of no cost to myself, I don't pay for books. I'm provided with transportation, even though I drive myself. It's amazing, and I think definitely this program has a lot of growth then.
Yeah.
And so many different careers that our students are looking.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't have any questions. I have a couple brief comments, and they somewhat reflect, I think, what others have said, including what Brett said. You know, as a board member, I'm not going to, challenge in which positions are needed where. That's why we have educators in the building. And so appreciate that. As a board member, I'm looking for, are we exhibiting discipline and how we evaluate things? Are we, keeping our students front and center, but recognizing that we have taxpayers? So I greatly appreciate, I've seen this thing mature over a decade and how we've gone about this and the level of professionalism, digging in, looking outside at best practices, putting resources where our students need them most. I am excited to put more resource behind our career and tech work because we know that, there's need. And so that just, solidifies that you're doing the right thing. So I greatly appreciate the work that's gone into this. And, I've been here through the life cycle of instructional coach. I've seen it when it was first drafted as a proposal. I've seen many questions over the time that in my mind indicated some stuttering, okay? And so I appreciate looking, at it critically and making determinations that no, we can put resources where they will more favorably impact our students and doing that work. So I give you a big thank you for a lot of discipline and professionalism in what you've shared with us today. And you heard that from me. Thank you. Okay. We now move into our finance agenda, of which there are two topics. There's a brief topic. Do you want to give it, Dr. Johnson, the amendment?
Oh, sure. This is really a very specific and singular change to our existing master contract with GM Architects. And it is one designed to give the district more flexibility with how we go about us working with different future engineering partners. So you can see the alignment with our strategic plan and the policy here. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Tony for a quick overview and just in case for questions online, also add emails. So Tony, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, we are just as a little bit of background, have a master contract with FGM Architects that was established in 2018. That is the kind of the backbone to then all the project authorizations that come forward and set the terms for our work. It outlines that different consultants are selected on a case-by-case basis depending on the project. But two of the sections, 1-11 1.2 and 1.11 1.3 have a singular engineer for mechanical and electrical work. We are looking to change that to allow flexibility to be determined on a project by project basis. I think it's very important to note this is not any of a kind of a negative reflection on the work that AMSCO has done. We still consider them a valuable and great partner to the district, but just as we look forward in different types of projects come up, we may need a different opinion or a different specialty engineer for a project. So this just gives the district some flexibility, just not on a case-by-case basis.
Any questions on the amendment? I have a question. So, because this is an amendment and you said the contract, the master contract is originated in 2018.
Yes.
And does it have a renewal or expir? What's the when is the master contract through?
So the master contract itself does not end at any particular point. There's not an expiration date of the master contract. What would happen is either situations arise from time to time that the district or FGM can say, you know, whether it's a preference change or a legal change, we need to amend a portion of the contract, or you know, if we were to go to like an RFQ, then it would result in a new master contract. But otherwise, you procedures, you set your master in place and then update as needed throughout the time.
Thank you. Our second order, anything else on that? Okay. Our second finance agenda item is the Imagine OPR overview.
All right, thanks. Last substantive item of the evening is a little bit of information that we want to share before we keep the presentation, but thanks for having it already. So first, as the board is aware, as those in the audience and the public may be aware, so 2 weeks ago, we brought to the board for discussion an authorization with FGMA to begin the initial phase of exploring what the next phase of the Imagine plan could be, which is Project 3. The board had a lot of questions, some comments, both during the meeting about the contract itself, the timing, the sequence of things. And so we're still working on responding to that feedback. And we plan to bring back to the board in 2 weeks from today a revised authorization, for that work. We'll talk a little bit more about that, later on. But in the meantime, while we're working on that, we figured it would be an opportune time to talk about Imagine OPRF, about the process itself that gave us the master facilities plan that we have right now. And so Karen and I, being the only two district leadership team members who were in the district at the time we launched Imagine, I want to share some information with you tonight for some discussion. I also do want to point out that we have 4 other people in the room right now who played some sort of a role. We have 5, am I missing somebody?
We have Audrey and Tim and Fred.
Oh, Fred, thank you so much, yes. Yeah, Fred Arkin, I want to introduce you all to Fred Arkin over here by last. No, that's right, so there's 5 people here who played a huge role in this process. And so, I wanna, obviously thank everybody, and I don't wanna, in any way, understate, with the exception of forgetting Fred, the role that everybody has played in this. So, thank you all. So with that said, we're gonna launch into this, and I'm gonna turn it over to Karen for the beginning of this. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you, Greg. So what we have here is a document from the Historical Society that shows the various sections of the building. The building was built in a patchwork over 60 years, essentially, between 1907 and 1967. So it was a very sort of piecemeal construction as needs arose at the time. And the last major facilities update had been 1967. There were various committees. I started with the district in 2012. There have been a variety of committees during my time leading up to 2016 that were trying to problem solve some real facilities issues that needed to be addressed. So fast forward to 2016, 50 years later, and we had a referendum on the ballot. It was, the community was asked to vote on the question of whether to approve a bond issue of up to $25 million, which would be combined with $40 million from our fund balance for a 5-year plan. It would have, we would have taken down the existing garage, built a new pool to replace the 2 failing pools, built a new pool into the footprint of the weight room and the current garage, built a smaller garage, added some classrooms. The west pool we had planned to repurpose for performing arts classrooms, which had seen a significant growth in enrollment over the years. Renovate some locker rooms, which I think you've probably all seen, which are pretty abysmal. And our learning spaces, they were designed in the early 1900s, many of them, and they needed to be brought up to the way kids learn today. So that was what was on the ballot. There were more than 35,000 ballots cast, and the referendum failed by 28 votes, which is about as evenly split as you can get on an issue. So obviously we felt there was a tremendous amount of community interest in this issue with so many votes cast. And with the narrow split, we needed to find a different way forward to solve our facilities issues. So what we came up with was Imagine OPRF, a community engagement process that ended up taking about 1.5 years. And the charge was, as you can read here, to develop a fiscally responsible master facilities plan that supports equity and current and future academic programming needs. There were 3 guiding principles that guided the work of the Imagine Work Group. It had to be needs driven, it had to be student centered, and it had to be equity focused. And that was very much emphasized throughout the process. So then we had a small launch committee that developed an application process. We sent out a postcard to all the households in both villages. We got 90 applications to be part of this committee, and we really wanted a very diverse committee in terms of, living in Oak Park or River Forest, homeowners, renters,
people with kids in the schools, people without kids in the schools, age diversity, racial and ethnic diversity. And so, we were really able to create that. We had 30 members of the community and 10 staff members. And we had 2 leaders on opposite sides of the referendum. We had Lynn Kamenetsa and Mike Boyer were invited to lead the process, and thankfully they said yes, because they did just a tremendous job. Really, we wouldn't be here without them. They were amazing. So they took 18 months to collect data. You can read here. Just a tremendous amount of data, a tremendous amount of conversation that happened with students, with faculty and staff, with coaches, club sponsors, parents, community members. They collected a vast amount of data, which all resulted in this report here. There we go. Oop, back.
We just want to give you a preview of what's coming.
Yeah. Get excited.
Hold on. Let me see.
One
One more?
Go back a couple more, actually. Or I think one more, okay, it's right here.
Okay.
So there were just a lot of issues identified with the facilities, as you would expect in a building that's 100 years old in many places. And they generally fall into the 6 categories that you see here. And the report, of course, went into much more detail in the areas like what are the needs of the performing arts, what are the needs of the English division and so forth. So what Imagine came up with is this plan that was meant to be a 10-year plan at the time, was sort of the general recommendation. It was a very comprehensive 5-phase plan that was flexible. Each phase could be, one phase could be done and then stopped while, we took a pause and figure out funding and what we wanted to do for the next phase. And as you can see, we've obviously completed project 1, and we're in the midst of project 2, and then ahead of us, we have projects 3, 4, and 5. As yet, we haven't determined the timeline for those.
So, thanks, Karen. So can put to our next 2 slides. The question is really what has all of this work that led up to project 1 in 2020, what really has it brought for the district? So the next few slides go through some of that work. And I want to just highlight for a moment before we take a close look at these, that we are in an incredibly fortunate position right now, because we are able to see firsthand in the building on a daily basis what it's like to have new renovated facilities that are designed to meet students' needs right now based off of the needs assessment and the work that the Imagine team did that Karen just described. It's invaluable. We see it not just in how the spaces are physically designed and how they look from the outside and inside, but we see it from how these spaces are used on a daily basis. We see it when we see kids in the balcony and on the landing right in front of the auditorium downstairs near the Welcome Center. We see it as they use the SRC in the library, in the space that we're talking about all the time. And that is really a major goal of the facilities, to encourage students to feel welcoming and a sense of belonging in these spaces. But it's not just there. We see it in classrooms and in science labs throughout the building as well, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. But seeing this firsthand in the building on a daily basis really validates the incredible usefulness of this work. So let's take a look at project 1 just for a second, because on the next slide. I'm not going to go through all of these in great detail, but I do want to highlight that Imagine project 1 was our first step in this. And we typically think of this as a 3-story addition that replaced the south cafeteria. And that's right, that is kind of the linchpin of the whole work, that 3-story renovation, which is the brand new cafeteria, which is the SRC, which has the learning center, the library, the fabulous spaces that are in there. But it also included a wide array of classrooms throughout the school, renovated spaces for our teen program, and a variety of other spaces as well, including an ADA compliant elevator for our students. So it really was a broad, wide encompassing renovation that served, any student who's in this school on any given day. And so that was really kind of the focus for project one. The cost was $42.2 million that's in here, and that was funded as you see on the side through cash reserves. And it was completed in 2023. I didn't say specifically one part of that SRC, but I want to illustrate it. We had a makerspace, kind of called the makerspace, in the back of the building, the old library, before we did this. It was something we were calling a makerspace in a space that we had available. We had no idea what a makerspace could really be until we had a space that was designed to be, right? And suddenly now we see it being utilized in ways that we couldn't even begin to anticipate. 3D printing, kids coming there to hang out. Teachers are going there in their off periods to work there and get some other things done because of what that space has. So it really gives lasting value to the overall school. I could go on and on. That's project one. In the interim, after we finished project one, if we can go to the next one, we realized we had a specific need. This was an idea, this is the athletic fields here. This was an idea that was kicked around by the Imagine team, but just couldn't find a way to get that done in the midst of everything else that was designed to be part of that plan. But we had a little bit of urgency that came to us because we were losing our partnership with the track across town. And so we took a look at the idea again, and we found a way to make this work. But in doing so, we were able to really establish through a partnership a broader approach than just solving that specific product need. And what I'm talking about is, of course, this partnership that we were able to develop with Jan Arnold and the Park District to utilize the facilities that we have on our campus for not only the benefit of patrons of the Park District and students of the school, but the community at large. And it really has become in that way a multidimensional community asset. When you take a look at the track and fields, of course, it's used any given day by people who come and use the track before school, after school, as long as students aren't present, and using the space for instructional and extracurricular purposes. But we also have across the street a brand new baseball field that is used for a variety of other purposes besides just our varsity baseball team. We have a long-lasting partnership now with the Park District for the use of Virgin Common, which allows our softball program to have a permanent home right here adjacent to our campus. And so that partnership allows us to do all sorts of things. It's not just upgraded facilities for the sake of upgraded facilities, but just simply the fact that these are turf fields allows us to avoid missed practices and competitions, right, as a result of what we get there. So just a real nice change in this regard. Cost $16.5 million, and again, able to be paid for through our cash reserves as a community, and finished within a healthy time frame of 2023. Project, I should say, on time as we designed it, and a phrase that is lovely to hear, on budget. Let's go to the next one here. And as much as I would love to say this is a project that's complete, I can't quite say the same thing. There's a yellow sticker on this one under construction. This is a project too that the community and everybody in this room is keenly aware of. What's in it is on the page, we're all aware of it. We are moving along on time right now. It's slated for a kind of owner takeover date. There's a word I'm missing in the construction world there, of August 13th, 2026. So we do have another year of construction. We are on the verge of, actually we've already begun foundation work there. So there is cement in the ground over there. And not too far away from the additional work of seeing this thing go vertical. So we're really excited about seeing that. And this is something that really has brought the community together in a variety of ways. Not only, of course, as in the previous projects, was this able to be funded through cash reserves. And not only did we need to rely on debt for this project for the first time, for the 45.3 million certificates, but there has been widespread support for this through the Imagine Foundation, spearheaded through a community effort for 12.5 million donations for that. Of which 200 million has already been handed over to the district. So thank you to the Imagine Foundation. What did I say? 200. I would love to,
Wishful thinking.
and that gets me to funding the rest of our projects. This is quite the newsflash. Thank you for correcting me, you just get wrong. And 2 million. Anyway, so there's that, we're excited to see that moving along. And we're thankful for the partnership that we have with FGM and Gill Bank to help keep that project moving along despite the things that you get along the way. And of course, I want to highlight on the next slide the fact that multiple values are being realized through all of this work. Sustainability and wanting to lead this in a climate conscious way is something that had been talked about throughout the entire process. And even Project One, the roof of Project One was built to support a photovoltaic array up there, solar panels. But while we are still in the process of building out what that long-term program will look like for the district and finding the right time to really lean into that, we had a need to take seriously the heating and cooling needs of Project 2 and the geothermal system that is currently underway in our partnership with Verigy on the football field. It really helps to show that. And so that's moving along as well. We've got some really cold days. That doesn't make the drilling that they can do possible. But I'll pause on anything else there at this moment because 2 weeks from today, Verigy will be here to give a full update on their work. Okay, so you'll get information there. I do want to point out that this is slated to be funded through our cash reserves, excuse me. But also we are still hoping to rely on IRA rebates from the federal government to help support. Okay, and we talked about that a little bit at previous board meetings. So I can get into this. And this next slide really just provides an overview of the completed and in progress facilities investments that we've done through this master facilities plan since its inception in the 2017-2018 school. Cash reserves, debt certificates, and donations are all reflected here. So it is a comprehensive plan and an incredibly involved effort. And so we are at a point in the next slide here to just begin to discuss what Project 3 was designed to be as originally captured in the Imagine plan. And I'm just going to draw your attention to the orange oval on the page, right? On a little diagram of the school circling the number 1953. Where is that? If you think of the Project 2 empty space right now as what is directly east or otherwise in front of the field house, think about Project 3 as what is directly west of the field house, the building immediately behind it. That is right, really adjacent to it. That is where the original footprint, and in many ways, we're still kind of thinking about what a potential future footprint could be for Project 3. The idea of Project 3 is that it would replace performing arts and physical education spaces and also continue our sustainability focus by allowing for a green roof and incorporation of a future solar array. So let's go to the next slide if we could. And I want to talk a little bit about the next two slides are pretty important for us to focus on when we begin to just dip our toes in the water for Project 3. And that really is what the spaces were designed to or intended to include. All right. And when you think about this, the bulk of it is performing arts spaces, classrooms for choir, orchestra, band, ensemble, practice rooms, the Black Box Theater, dressing room, stagecraft, performing arts offices and storage, of course. Basically, if you think about anything where we currently have the performing offices spaces on the first and second floor, that is designed to be relocated in this space immediately adjacent to in the back end of the field house and very close to the auditorium of the performing arts spaces and of course the field for marching band access as well. There are physical education spaces here as well, designed in this. Or not designed, I should say, listed in this. Multi-purpose gymnastics gym and wrestling gym, classrooms, cardio, and the other spaces that you see there. Team changing facilities, of course, being something that is not currently. We're looking forward to down the road. Green roof, as well as I said previously. I want to highlight that a lot of the work that we saw with Project One in particular incorporated. I remember I talked before about the vast scope really what Project One was. It pulled a lot of what it did from previous projects. And so the main entrance, the bathrooms, the student commons, the elevator to the fourth floor, which we did not have before, which was a huge benefit, is a huge benefit to the school, and the all-dinner bathrooms are significant components of Project 3 that have already been checked off our to-do list. And so what are the needs that these spaces really are designed to address on the next slide? And you see them all listed here. And there's a lot of words on this page. You don't need to read them all through, but you see references here to accessibility, the cramped nature of our current performing arts spaces where there is insufficient air volume and sound dampening in order for them to be really the types of learning spaces and performance spaces we need them to be. It takes care of some of the adjacency problems, having a music program on the first and second floors, inefficiencies in how our practice rooms function. We have storage challenges all over the place down there on a regular basis. And I really want to highlight this. We've talked about Project 1 and Project 2 being spaces where we want to purposely design the school so that kids feel comfortable to congregate and be present and be welcome and have a sense of belonging. Kids in all sorts of programs throughout the school feel they have to gravitate to their little niche for that purpose. But my goodness, is that true for kids who are in the performing arts? This is their home. This is where they really feel that this is where they want to be. This is where they want to hang. As one of those kids when I was in high school, I go back and yep, that's true. I love hanging out with band and it's where I ate lunch. And so it's not possible in the cramped spaces that we were describing previously. And we want to make sure that it can be a point of gravity for our students, a welcoming, comfortable point of gravity. And so that is one of the needs that we will want to make sure that we consider as we take further steps on the process. And then, of course, there's a need for a greatly improved black box theater. It is a fun place to go watch a little production. There's no doubt. We did that just a little while ago. I did that a little while ago, I should say. But there's need for improvement there as well. And any of the physical education challenges that were discussed previously and well documented in Project 2 are applicable, of course, to the spaces in Project 3 that fall out of the physical education. So you see those listed. Okay, so that really concludes kind of the overview of what Project 3's needs were and kind of the initial ideas for what that programming could be. I want to underscore that none of that, and this wasn't the intention of the Imagine process, none of that is written in stone right now. None of that is designed to be the only way to view these needs, the only way to view the design of the space. Instead, it is designed as a blueprint for us to reevaluate and dive further into as we move forward. And so on the next slide, I want to talk a little bit, and this wasn't originally the fact that we added this slide a little bit more recently. Just an overview of what programming is from an architectural perspective. We talk about this, but what does that mean really? And so in their terms, it is a way to just conduct focus group research, right? To explore what's really needed in these spaces and get the idea of what are the crucial components that need to be included when we think about eventually drawing something out and finding specific ways to meet those needs. This is not the drawings themselves. This is not even anywhere close to schematic design. Programming needs are really the re-vetting process. It is saying, what are the needs that we're trying to solve? And what do we want to make sure we really don't miss as we go about the process of solving it? So what we are going to bring to the board in 2 weeks from tonight is a request to consider to approve on that date. an authorization to begin this programming phase for the spring semester of this school year. This is a timeline that allows us to do one thing while also doing something else. It allows us to take advantage of the fact that students, teachers, community members are this spring still in this building on a regular basis. It's part of what we're regularly doing. We want to talk to kids while we're in the building, not do something during this. We want to talk to teachers while they're here in the building and go through this programming process. It also, though, allows us to come back to the board later this school year in the late spring with a question based off of this rebidding, based off of these needs. What do you think we should do? What are the next steps? All right, the next steps in the architectural process are concept design, schematic design. Is that where we want to go right now? Is this a timeline we like? Is this something we want to consider a little bit different? But we will have the actual needs re-vetted in front of us before we can make the important decision about what those steps are. So a lot of words, a lot of talk, but that's that. So I'll pause right there for any questions, but thank you.
Questions? Iris?
I have two questions. First, what's going to happen to our climbing gym? Because I have this dream. Are you ready for it?
I've never been more ready.
Okay. Of having a fully adaptable climbing gym and adventure program for that group. Because what I'm seeing is I'm pretty sure the Project 3 area is the area of our current climbing gym.
Yes.
And we have no state to rebuild it. My favorite experiences of my junior year gym class were climbing and looking at our current high ropes course. Being up there is a good way to not just have amazing, unique PE experiences, but gain like bravery, you know? And that's really cliche.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying I know we're not programming right now, but I believe we need to consider.
I love it. You just answered your own question. It's great, you know?
Yes.
That's exactly what programming is, that you gather from students and faculty. So thank you for illustrating it.
Sorry.
No, I love it. Thank you very much.
And then one more about like safety and congregating. Mostly in the beginning of this year, I realized these spaces illustrated in Project 1, spaces that you guys don't see on a daily basis, have been oftentimes closed down to students. And so there have been times where, especially in the morning times or during lunch periods, students are sometimes not allowed to use the balcony, not allowed to use the area by the entrance, etc. And so when we're looking at how we're training our safety people and how we're making these spaces, what can we do to make them intrinsically safe so we can keep them open?
Great, thank you. It's a great question. Thank you.
Other questions or comments at this juncture? Graham?
Can we go to slide 4?
Right here? Or back?
It's a good point to mention that I love how we brought our slide templates into the modern age, but we're still missing page numbers.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Oh,
That's the only reason we asked that
I'm
question.
so sorry.
I don't actually have any questions.
You're absolutely right, Greg, sorry.
I really do have, no, it's been. It's gonna be one prior to this.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Other able, but
Other corrections.
It's called community engagement.
There we go. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, you know, I saw the words fiscally responsible dropped in here and in the cover memo, but isn't it correct that the community engagement team was told to leave questions of cost and finance aside and just do an analysis of what students need? Is that not correct?
That is correct, there was no, it was discussed at least a couple of board meetings, you know, did the board want to set a parameter around what was being dreamed of, and the decision was no. Let's see what the needs are and go from there. They didn't want to impinge on any you know, any needs that might be solved.
So these materials, if they go out, we should probably address that because it says here that that was part of the charge, but in reality it wasn't.
Mhm.
Which I think is,
I think it was part of the charge and
to develop a fiscally responsible master facility.
mhm.
I thought it was to conceptualize student needs.
But I'd say it was both. I mean, we didn't want constraints on understanding needs, so we didn't want to go in with a preconceived notion of how much we had to spend. And that could have constrained what we learned, but after we figured out what we learned, and Tim, you checking on this, we then took that back. And really said, when the plan was put together, that's when some of the constraint piece came, some of the physical piece came in there. But initially, it was, let's not have a predetermined notion about what those needs might be, unless you really do the research, to understand what they are, and then how do you fit them into a reasonable plan. That's school.
And there were projected costs attached to the first 3 phases. So, you know, money was part of it, but it was sort of after the fact. It wasn't planned within that from the beginning.
So later iterations, you can incorporate.
Yeah.
This is part of the plan before.
Yeah, all right, okay, thank you, I appreciate that, misunderstanding. But that's really my only.
Did you want to look at any other pages?
They don't have numbers, I'll just tell you right now.
Just read the title, just read the title.
Other questions?
Is there a comment?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to thank you for putting this together, Karen, Greg, because I think this lays it out in a very expressive and logical way of actually the history of it and what and why was done. And then, you know, I think that it gives us the right next step. Okay. And the most logical next step, rather than coming up already with some kind of a grand timetable. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I just think the one thing that would have been, I think, a little helpful to the board to include is just a brief summary of what 4 and 5 would be. Just because community members ask, well, you know, what else is going to be coming down the pipe later? It would be nice to like have that be a point to it. That would be helpful. And just thinking about this giant binder that Lynn brought to me with the entire plan, with all the details. So just a brief thing, not the full.
Yeah. We can definitely do that, we can find a way to do this. In fact, you know, first of all, what's on project 4 and 5 is available right now.
Right, it's
on the website,
right,
of
but
course. It's not secret or privacy in some way. Number 2, what we could do is add to this PowerPoint, link this up to our facilities page, so it's there and digestible for everybody, and so that's good.
It is a good overview, so thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a good overview and it kind of helps just level set. You know, the thing going through my head is that, you know, clearly we're at a different place now than we were at the beginning of the process, okay? And it's about continuous improvement and, you know, hearing the voice of students on what we've done thus far, to me, is powerful. I think my perception is, you know, if you haven't done it, you don't know. I mean, it's kind of all just mystery, but now we're kind of in between the reality and mystery. We have examples of things we've done, so tapping into that as much as we can is going to be powerful. I mean, I think there's just so much that we can have, you know, we can get as feedback and what we can learn on what we've done thus far, which is really, you know, we've only, you know, done a certain amount, but I really look forward to that student perspective after having, you know, used what was constructed. So All right,
Thank you.
okay, our next order of business. It's board governance. Yes. Okay, so for board governance, just for board members, the only, they're present in the document is our atlas of current, board atlas. So are there any, I guess, Graham, are there any things to call out or changes in this version?
You'll get change request, I'll get some input requests out to the board members, particularly on the topic of, where we stand on the goals. Like, so this thing is always gonna be there in the governance section. Easy to reference, easy to download and find, so, use it at your leisure, and also, Tom's been very good at thinking of things he wants to see put in it, so all of you should feel free to.
Excellent. And the other document in there relates to our work with our student delegates, just in terms of the expectations for the mentor program as we kick it off. So I just put that in as an attachment, just as we begin this process. And as we said, it's a pilot, but our next steps are really, some of us are just gonna engage with the delegates as we go through the board meetings for the next month to 2 months. So there's a document in there just to outline what we kind of drafted and how that will work. Okay. And that covers governance. Are there any other governance topics that need to be addressed? Mary Ann?
I actually just a suggestion, which is, I don't think we have any process for exit interviews for outgoing board members. And I think those would be helpful. So my recommendation is that we consider it for those. I don't know where that gets discussed or how to.
There's another related topic I have, just while we're on it, because we've also discussed board evaluation processes. Okay, and some of those processes are really board processes. It's not administration, it is the board itself. And for our policy manual, as a district is a comprehensive. It's a board and administrative policies all in one place. But for any processes that really are unique to the board itself, where do we put them? Where do they go? Which would include what you're talking about, which is just there's a few. It's really how we work ourselves, and it kind of is a dovetailing. We're using Graham the Atlas as a place of a repository of storing some key stuff, but now there's a few processes that we have accountability for. We want to make sure we do it. We memorialize it. So I don't have an answer, but we have both our evaluation and how we roll on and off the board. There would be a rolling on piece too.
Right.
That we need to consider. So
maybe it is looking at the atlas and we have our operating rhythm, right? And so as part of that, we have our self-evaluation and we have things. And so perhaps as a starting point, that may be it seems like the best place to actually add those things to them, make sure they're well documented.
Yeah, so there's a new one, you're saying there's a new one right there, which is established exit interviews for outgoing board members.
And we can, link procedures if need be, correct?
Yes, which gets to the point of a shared drive that we talked about endlessly.
Yeah, see, I think that's what we're getting to. So I think if we would have a way, because I think that's the right vehicle and we could link them. We don't have a lot of board only processes. And it's just a question of where do we do it? So I think we're kind of dancing around the right way for that. Okay. Any other discussion on board governance? Okay. Our last section are future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items from board members or delegates?
Save the climbing gym. Does that count?
Focus.
Darn. Can't hold a focus group. That's what you guys said in like the speech, you hold no real power, no focus group for you.
Okay, any other future agenda items? Okay, hearing none, I move to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting.
Second.
And all in favor? All opposed? Okay. Do we have a special?
We have a special.
Yeah, we have. Oh, I lost it.
The special you guys should go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Iris. Nice job.
Yeah.
And just, I want to explain to the delegates what the special is, just so you know what it is.
This is just here.
What?
It's just Iris.
That's okay. So, because this is a committee meeting, there's no action that's taken, which is we're not voting on anything. We do all that at the regular meeting, which will be in 2 weeks. However, there are some things that, because of timing, that we need to still act on. So what we do is we need to call then a special board meeting, which is what we'll soon be doing. And it's quick just to take care of the board's business and vote on those things, which is personnel part, right? And
That's it. Yeah, they work out.
Capital improvement.
and capital that were presented. So it's just the, that's what it's for.
Reading other board others.
Yeah.
In a minute.
Okay, then I'll take one.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah, and this is.
No.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Let's.
More coming or? That's all I have. Sure. All right, then I.
Did I do that wrong?
Maybe you don't want to text me.
Okay.
All right. My card is being.
I have somebody. Well, I think it is. Okay, I call to, do I have a script?
You're good, so, yeah.
I don't need it.
You sure?
Alright, go, you're good.
It's on the back page.
I call to order the special board meeting of the D200 School Board on Thursday, the 6th of March at 9:13 and 45 seconds. And ask for a roll call.
Dr. Winston?
Here.
Ms. Winsley? Here. Mr. Brisbane?
Here.
Dr. Marlowe? Here. Mr. Brandhouse?
Here.
Mr. Arkin?
Here.
And Mr. Costa?
Here. Is there any public comment? Hearing none. We have 2 action items. First action item. I move to approve the personnel recommendation, including new hires, job shares, summer school hires, resignations, leaves of absence, retirements, and releases.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Winsley?
Yes.
Dr. Livingston?
Yes.
Mr. Brisbane?
Yes.
Mr. Arkin?
Yes.
Dr. Marlowe?
Yes.
Mr. Brandhouse?
Yes.
And Mr. Costa?
Yes. Our second action item is I move to approve the project authorization with FGM Architects for the summer 2026. At an estimated budget of $6,869,216.
Second.
Any discussion? A roll call, please.
Mr. Harkin,
Yes.
Ms. Williams Lee,
Yes.
Dr. Livingston,
Yes.
Dr. Marlowe,
Yes.
Mr. Bramble,
Yes.
Mr. Brisling,
Yes.
and Mr. Costi.
Yes. I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.